Yeah, so we are back again. We were expecting the esteemed and the enigmatic.
Yes. Absolutely.
Enigmatic Mr. Gambinga.
Yes.
The guy was so awesome there to name him twice.
Yeah.
Gambinga. Yeah, but we'll get him.
So he got his hair trimmed on Saturday.
Yeah, so he had his hair chopped on Saturday.
Yeah.
His dreadlocks for charity. I think he raised quite a
that's good.
a tidy sum, more money than he actually envisaged.
What's he actually giving it to?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
I think last time I know he probably was something to do with some of the work that that SACMHA does.
Yes, he asked me about it, and I said just do it for SACMHA.
Yeah, and I think that's the same thing that he's doing this time. So, but that's the thing. It's the charity thing. It's the. Have you ever done anything for charity?
I've never done it. I've walked for charity.
Yeah.
So I think I walked twice for charity. God, where did I go? Ben Nevis and
Ben Nevis. That's the one in Scotland.
I did it 3 times. Ben Nevis. And then I did 3 peaks in Yorkshire, and then in 2000, I remember this one well, there was some floods in Mozambique.
Oh yeah. I remember those.
So you played. Remember I did that charity gig thing at the Polish club.
Oh yes.
And you were you played the drums.
The drums.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
I remember.
I raised £900 that occasion.
Oh.
Yeah.
But sometimes I always wonder, because being the poor one amongst us.
Yes.
I've always said this thing that I'll do like a kick, what do you call it, one of these fundraiser things, and then the allure of the loot that has been raised as a result. It may never leave my pocket.
Well, a lot of people do that, where they raise money, and you think, do they just...
just pilfer the money.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, mine went, because I organised it through, I did it myself, but I got some money up front from Sheffield, from the union, basically.
Oh, okay.
And they said, we'll stand you $250. And then I had to pay them back out of it, and then we made £800. So actually, it was a sort of like, so it was all very legit. But it was I remember that.
Yeah, because it's an interesting one. I mean, I know people have always had some views about charities.
I've always had the views about it. Yeah.
Is it? Why, you mean are they useful or?
Well, the fact that you sometimes say that actually, the state should do it, etc., etc. But sometimes the charities, an argument, it's a political argument, isn't it? Does the state do everything?
Yeah.
How much does the state do?
That's true, actually.
And, and shouldn't just simply tax people so the state can do everything? And then you think sometimes maybe a charity's just it's a bit leaner, it's a bit quicker, it can respond quicker. Some people want to have some direction about how they want to give their money.
That's it.
Sometimes I want to give my money to this, I don't want to give it to everything.
That's it. I know some people who basically were also very regimented in terms of their way of giving. They will say, this has to be ethical, it has to be this, it has to be that. But then sometimes for me, it's like the question of when you give, it's like basically shutting your eyes and giving.
Yeah.
So if it is in your nature to give.
Yeah.
But then if you're going to start splitting hairs about where the money goes, then it becomes problematic.
Of course it is. I mean, it's like, for instance, a friend of mine, she's from Carriacou, her family, and Carriacou was affected by the hurricane. Mm-hmm. So they've been raising money for it. So I keep thinking I must bring some money to it, basically. And in a way, that illustrates that point, which is maybe the British government will give them some money, but it'll be a small amount. And why shouldn't people who are from Carriacou, from the Caribbean, give money there?
Yes.
They already give money to their family.
That's it,
by sending money home. Yeah. So this is just a slightly bigger version of sending money home after a disaster.
Yeah. the good old, I mean, in Zimbabwe, they call it the black tax.
Yes. Well, yeah, people send money home.
The black tax.
Yes, absolutely, send money
Yeah,
home.
but that's the thing. You know what?
It is a tax in a way, because
some
people work and they've got hardly any money, but they're doing 3 jobs to send money home.
Yeah.
And the worry sometimes is that people they think money comes easier.
No, that's it. No, it's true. It's true. You know, it's like, I mean, like having come from, I mean, I visited home and came back end of May. And I still I had mosquito bites to prove my.
Yes.
Hey, let me tell you, I think the mosquito it ate me.
Well, the thing is,
really
you're like an
me,
Englishman now, aren't you?
Bro, I'm telling you, man. I think I must have tasted good.
Yes.
I really did taste good, because one thing I forgot to do was to even take, like because some people you take tablets. You can go and the GP gives you tablets to. But for me, I just took it for granted, because the last time I went home, I didn't have to do that. But I think it's your immune system kind of sort of.
How long since you've been home?
Embarrassing.
20 years.
Probably that.
Well, you're an Englishman now.
and probably the COVID vaccine just wiped everything, the rest of it away. No, I'm not an anti-vaxxer, but I know when you mention COVID, people are like, oh no, you can't say anything about that. This is some crazy thing. But yeah, so when it's like being home, you'll be surprised, how many people still want to come to this part of the world. And I'm like, as crazy as the infrastructure is, for me, I saw a resilient people, a people who still wake up in the morning and go to the market and sell stuff. Because my brother was there, he commented that the amount of people that were selling stuff, he was like, I'm sure these people are just selling stuff to each other,
Yes.
Because that's crazy. Even just the imagery, the view you see, because it's like side roads, some people just coming in, walking around with their stuff. It's like everyone is just selling stuff to everyone.
So that question you were saying, which is, I'm not saying you're opposing that point about there's so many people back home who want to come here. And really, for me, the question is, why do you think that is? I mean, I've got a reason why. I think it's just simply the economics.
Well, it is the economics, but I think there's this, we still have a romanticized view of the West. Because the view that we were sold at home is different from the reality of what we find here. Unfortunately, when we get here, we don't tell the truth about this part of the world.
You mean people who come here don't tell the truth?
No, they don't.
So what do they tell then?
I think because people are just sending money home.
Yes. So people think therefore they must have money spare.
He must be doing well. He must be really doing well. Because I remember when my countrymen started coming here. I mean, for those who know, I am from Zimbabwe. When the Zimbabweans started coming to this country, I remember having to drive somebody to Derby to a house party. I'm not really a house party person, but I was the designated driver, as one does. I have never seen cars that look like that. For a moment, if you didn't know that you were in England, you would have thought you were in LA or New York or some place. The guys, it's like the young men and the young women were dressed so American-esque.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? There's always been that idea that when we show off to each other. And I think I see this like in the bashment parties or whatever, we always do this just to show off to each other. It's not like we are celebrating each other, because that would be a different viewpoint.
But in a way, really, you could say that actually that's sort of bigging yourself up. You're on a night out.
Yeah.
You've worked hard all week.
Probably.
Made a little bit of money for the week there. So Saturday night, I've got to be able to just show off a bit. And let metaphorically, literally, let your hair down and have a good time, etc. But it could, though. I mean, someone said to me about their dad. Their dad was from Nigeria, and he'd come here. His dad is passed now, and I said, oh, so did you ever go back? Did you go with your dad to Nigeria? He said, no, never. My dad never went back.
Oh, okay.
And I said, oh, why don't you think he ever went back? And he said he thinks that actually his dad never went back because he never felt as if he'd done well enough to go back.
Exactly that.
Yes. Because I'm going to go back with what?
Exactly that, bro.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, this is the thing. I have been in this part of the world over. I was reminiscing with another mutual friend of ours, McLean, McLean Blake.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was reminiscing about the fact that I have been in this country for so long, but like everyone else, it's that sense of, if I go back, what am I going back to? And what am I taking with me? Because for starters, the stuff I have here, when I was in Zimbabwe, I actually went to the capital. People have better stuff there. I have never seen cars like that, and I have never seen people who exude that sense of, we have the resources. We don't need to go anywhere. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, what am I taking? Because really, the things that I hear in England, the guys back home get that like it's chump change. It's nothing much, because they travel to China, they travel to Dubai, they go to the States. And if you look at it, what do we have in Britain that the people in the African continent want?
Well, it's a difficult one to answer, isn't it? Because if that was the case, people would stay.
That's what I'm saying.
But people don't stay. I say people don't stay. The vast majority of people stay. And it might be the lure of something which is sort of like is a mirage in some respect. You know, it makes what you see on the TV, what people write back home, how you see people when they arrive back from wherever they've been. All of these things might give people the impression that actually I can make it there easier than I can make it here. Now, I don't know if that's true or not, because unlike you, I was born here.
Yeah.
I'm raised there in Britain, so I don't really know. I don't know anywhere else. But, and we've spoken lots here where we talked about mental health, where the angle has come from about being born and raised here and how it's affected you mental health wise. But it's interesting. Last week, you and I were talking to someone who'd actually come from elsewhere, and how difficult he'd found it here. And I think sometimes, if you're someone who arrives here, it could be such a sort of like dislocation.
It's a culture shock.
Yeah. So first of all, you've got all of the travel to get in, all that money and all the effort and the dreams you've put into this to get here. You then get here, and how difficult it is to establish yourself here. And, you've also at some point got to begin to think to yourself, or wager with yourself, how long do I stay?
Let me tell you, I spoke to an elderly gentleman at SACMHA last week, and he said to me, he says, if I had known what I know now, I would have never left St. Kitts. But then what he was saying is, initially he said he wanted to go back to St. Kitts. This is a gentleman in over his 70s. For starters, I said, who is there for you? He says, well, there's my nephews and nieces, but they don't know me. You see what I'm saying? So, for starters, what are you going back to? Are you going back to an idea, a romanticized idea of the St. Kitts you left all those years ago? You see what I'm saying? And the fact is, he's got kids here. They will want to see him. So you can't just pick up and go, you go back to what?
But no, and I think the longer you stay, the harder it is.
It is.
So when do you say to yourself in your head, this is now my home?
Yes.
And that must be really difficult to at some point say, where I am from, which is always going to be where I'm from, isn't home anymore. And if you're struggling here as well, in many different ways in which we all struggle. That must be really hard. And
It is
you
hard,
know,
bro.
and you know, we were talking with a guy last week there, and he was just talking about, you know, how difficult it was to come here, be in a sort of a centre, then trying to get a job, trying to study, just trying all those things, just so that actually you can make some headway forward steps there, so it can justify that incredible leap of faith to leave home to come here.
To come here, bro. But that's the thing. It's I think for me, my journey here was literally, I think, it was just a series of mishaps.
Yeah.
You know, it was literally that. You know, when people, I don't have, you know, like that well curated narrative about my coming here. It's literally. Today I was thinking about this thing. How many times are we not coerced, but we are advised by either the adults around us or the people who we look up to make decisions that later we find out this was nonsense. You see what I'm saying? I was working in film, and I had just taken a trip. Actually, the first time I came here, we were shooting a film. So when I get back, there's I was given this idea that, you know, you go with this family and then you will study. You'll go and study at the local university or whatever to further your studies and to further your whatever you feel. But then when I came, it didn't work out that way. And so if I had not been quick or resourceful enough to know people, I mean, people like Ogo Osamo, Clinton McCoy, Leroy Wenham, you know, Claudette Clark, all those people, if I had not known them, I would have been another statistic in this country.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Well, yeah, I know what you mean, because I was in Manchester on Sunday, and I'm walking through Manchester city centre, and Manchester Piccadilly Centre there were lots of men.
Yes.
Lots of men from all over the world, and it just in groups, and it looked as if these were men who've come here, and you know, maybe they are refugees, asylum seekers, or just straightforward migrants, but it was the feeling of them trying to make some space for themselves.
That's it.
You know, because they hadn't yet got established, and it is so hard to get established.
It is hard. It is difficult here. I think the questions I get, especially from my countrymen, is because they think that the system here in the United Kingdom is the same as in some of the African countries, where you can literally evade the system, so to speak, because so you get more undocumented people in the African countries than you do in the West. In the West, I mean, they will pick you up. Pick you up.
Because you've always got to have some document of some description.
You have to have some documents of some sort. So you have to follow the rules to be able to survive this part of the world. So when I tell people that side, you will have to, because for them, they think they can come here and I'll be able to hook them up with somebody and then they can use that person's bank account to earn their money. The same way they do, like in South Africa, where they will go and know somebody who they know, they use their bank account to funnel their money through until they fall out.
Yeah.
Then that person kind of runs off with their money, or shoves them in, to the local authorities. And I have known here in this part of the world, it's not that easy to try and fool the system. There are some who are well versed in that ability to con their way through life.
They're probably just general con men. Anywhere they go in the
saying?
world, they're just con men. You can put them anywhere in the world, they'll just try and con you.
Yeah, with us, I don't know how I can fool the system in this part of the world. I wouldn't be able to do that. Yeah. So, but then to try and convince somebody, because sometimes when you tell your countrymen, no, but it really, I don't know. They think that you're holding out on them.
Yeah.
Like, you hear this quite a lot. Like, well, these people, they because they are having a good thing, they don't want to share it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
But it's hard. Unless you're living it, it's very difficult, isn't it?
That's it.
To actually sort of relay back to people. This is how I see it. This is how
Yes.
I've experienced this. This is what I've seen there, and
Yeah.
I've seen how difficult it can be. Not only sort of in a sort of a physical way of earning money and trying to survive, but in that mental way, the way
Yeah.
in which, for instance, you know, I remember when I was young, we had relatives who'd my parents' age who'd come over from Jamaica, and then in their 40s, after about 20 years here, they decided to go to New York. Quite a few of them did, and this is in the late 70s.
Yeah.
And my mum said, I can't do that. And then she said, why not? I said, well, I can't do it a second time and then go to New York and have to do 3 jobs.
That's the thing.
Yeah,
That's the
and
thing.
that's, that's what it is, isn't it?
Yes.
You can do it one time. I think for a lot of us, we can do it the one time, and you can do it in your 20s, and then you can go through 5 years of struggle. But to pick it up again and go to New York, go to London.
Telling you, go to London. No, but then don't you think that if you understand what the struggle is, you can? Because I think with us, we create a philosophy of suffering. If I can put it that way, it's like
yeah, you're right. Well, that's
yeah.
interesting, that take is because
Yeah.
here we are. We often we're here, ostensibly to talk about mental health there.
Yeah.
And that's an interesting idea, creating a sort of like a this idea about suffering.
Yeah.
And should we?
But that's the thing. I don't know. I think, because if you look at it, if you look at, I was talking to somebody, actually, I think yesterday, we're talking about the whole idea of prejudice, racism and stuff. That a generation, I'll say our parents, those who came in the 50s or late 40s, those who came then, they normalized being mistreated in this country. To a point that I remember when I did the research, when I did the documentary on the Windrush for the Sheffield Archives, there were some who basically said, I didn't face any racism. Because for them, calling racism by its name or confronting those people who were racist meant that I was jeopardizing my livelihood. You see what I'm saying? They have the power to stop my money. They have the power to send me back, and I haven't finished why I came here in the first place. So there was a lot of fear of the system, so to speak. But in essence, it's like a narrative that they had built themselves that, in this country, when somebody has a different hue, skin hue, you have to fear them. And so we walked with that fear because in our countries, white people had a different status. You see what I'm saying? So when we came here, for me, let me tell you, one of the most intriguing thing was seeing a white person begging on the street.
Well, they say that, don't they? For many people who came over, they'd never seen poor white people.
No, we never saw poor white people.
Back home, white people was associated with wealth and
and
status.
means and status. And they carried themselves in that way because the fact that in my own country I was only allowed to walk on the other side of the road, whilst white people walked on the other, basically meant that really in essence there was such a big division between the two races to a point that we can't really associate. But then fast forward, I am working on movie sets with Caucasians from the States, from Europe, from all then suddenly realize that there is a commonality in us. We are all trying to make sense of this thing called life. Because that's the thing.
That's it. We're just trying to make some sense.
We're trying to make sense of this thing. And I think if you look at it, no matter how we dress it, we are all wanting the same thing. We are all wanting the same thing.
Yeah, we want some love. We want some companionship. We want.
That's the thing.
We want to have some. We want some self-esteem to
That's
be
the thing,
fostered.
bro. That's it.
But on that thing about struggle, for all of us have to face some struggle.
Yes, we have to.
Some people's struggle, though, is greater than others.
That's the thing.
And, you know, there's a lot of pain out there. And just in the job which you and I have been doing in the last year and a few months, you know, you hear stories of struggle.
Of pure struggle.
And you hear people where they've been broken by it. And it's really sad to see. And I think for myself that when I see it, and I see and I hear of, and, you know, talking with Gambinga the other day, and he was saying to me about in the sort of mental hospitals in Sheffield, of the men, 40% are black.
That's a big...
Yeah. Well, we're not 40% of the population of the city of Sheffield. So it's way higher than we'd expect. And when you hear that and you see people, I sometimes think to myself, by the grace of God, go I. Because it doesn't take that much. You know, and we all have our own troubles.
Yes, we do.
We all have our own troubles. So we're all carrying a lot with us.
Yeah.
But how easy it is to, you know, not be able to manage.
But that's the thing. I think also it's because, and I think more so for us as men, I think because it takes us a long while to actually open up and start having conversations with other men to see how they are doing life. Because really, in essence, when we do life, we don't have a reference point. We really don't. We are just doing this thing, you know, without a manual.
Yeah.
So we're just flying blind. We are literally flying blind.
Yeah.
And the thing is, no matter how struggling I am, I will not come to you and say, you know, Don, I'm going through stuff. You know what I mean? It takes a while to trust another brother to actually be able to say, you know something, man, I'm going through some stuff. I mean, what are your thoughts on this? To be honest, do we trust each other enough to...
Well, I think you're asking about me, you and I.
Because I know with us we talk about
we
everything.
talk about a lot. I've talked with you about a lot more things of recent than I have with anyone else, really, telling the truth, another man. I think often, you know, you only have a couple of people who you feel really... I only have a couple of people who I feel really comfortable to share with them that real vulnerability. Yeah. Those places in your space, in your head, in your life, in your thoughts, which are the places of doubt, of fear, of worry, of despair, all those feelings which you can have when you're not in your best place, when you're in a dark place there. And you know, it's the question someone might you could ask is, you know, I'm in a two men's group, and
which are Man Talk
and the one at Fades, and it's talk there. You know, people talk there about when marriages are broke down and relationships are broke down, etc., and we were joking about it the other week.
Oh yeah, the other week.
We were saying about, you know, how you can get to the place where, you know, your relationship of 25 years breaks down and somebody says to you, how are you? You say, yeah, I'm good. It's good, you know, the woman gone, but me about that, you know. Well, actually, that's not how you feel.
That's it.
How you feel is you feel like you want to bawl and cry.
You want to bawl
woman's left me.
No, but that's the thing. But and I think this is the thing. Let me tell you, I hope my son doesn't listen to this. But I know my boy basically broke up with his girl, and I know he's trying so hard to be, you know, like, you know, he's okay. But it's like the other day he basically came and it doesn't. It's like when he was little, he'd just come and hug you and stuff and whatever you and stuff. But now it's more calculated. The younger one will hug me and kiss me and all that kind of stuff. But him, he's like a version of me, but sort of like a street version of me, in the sense that he's out there.
He's a young man version.
He's a young man. That's
You're
what I'm saying.
You're an old man now.
I am an old man, bro. I'm an old man. And he's trying so hard to keep it together. And I hugged him. And he cried.
Yes.
You see what I'm saying?
That's good then, isn't it?
Yeah, he cried. But I think it's like, in any relationship, it's not a one-person thing. Both parties have had their eyes off the ball.
Well, yeah, and I think you should. Yes, and I think that's a good way of putting it, because you shouldn't attribute blame on someone.
Yeah, you can't blame someone.
Yeah.
You have to take some of the blame.
Yes, absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? And sometimes you contributed more than the other person.
Yes.
And the other person tolerated your nonsense.
Yes, something you didn't realize.
Far enough to say, I don't want to be part of this. And I think it's okay for them to suddenly say, you know what, I can't cope with this. Because many of us stick to, going back to what we were saying about relationship, the fact that some of us will stay in those relationships come rain or shine, even when we don't like the rain, or we don't even like the shine.
You don't get much shine.
Yeah, you don't get enough shine. That's what I'm saying. So we stick to it because, one, going to the point I was saying, that sometimes because we succumb to the narrative, the community narrative. Get married at this age, go to university at this age, go do this job, and have children. Like sometimes in our community we get this. When you've been married for many a year and you don't have children, what's wrong with you?
Yeah, and I don't think our community or our communities are any different to any other community.
But that's the thing.
And that societal pressure there, which we all have we all have to operate in a society.
That's it.
And some people, because sometimes you have to be quite brave, don't you? Because, for instance, if you were unhappy in a situation, really unhappy, do you stick with this? You said about, about life, there's no manual.
Yeah.
Do you stick with it?
But that's the thing. It's
or
like,
do you actually
navigate it?
Navigate it, and then if you came to a conclusion, it's not working and I can't make it work, I don't want it to work, all those sort of things, it's making me so unwell. But you recognise there's all these forces from the community and society in general of expectations. Do you stick with it?
Let me tell you, this morning I had a moment of clarity. Those moments.
This is not related.
No. I had I'm telling you, bro. I had the moment of clarity, and I was thinking exactly about that thing. The very fact that many of us we make decisions based on what the expectations of the community, the wider community, who basically don't contribute to anything that we do in our homes. They don't care so much about our relationship. They don't care so much what we eat or drink, except like for a select few. But even those who contribute to our well-being, they don't really care about the intricate details of what we do. So, if I was that unhappy, for me, I am the one who always wants to know the why. And I think that's to my detriment. It's like I've always been the why guy. I want to see what's under the hood and what's not working. If it's my fault, I've often said that if God forbid, if ever something went south in my own personal relationships, I'm not taking anything. I will live with the clothes on my back and probably my camera and stuff, because that's the only thing
you can add the stuff up now.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Because this is the thing. I will never. I think I mentioned the interview that Shaquille O'Neal had on the what do you call it, the Pivot podcast. He was talking about the fact that he said of his ex-wife, she did nothing wrong.
Yeah. And
I think sometimes us as men, we have to get to that point.
Well, I think that's very important.
You know what I'm saying? Because sometimes, usually, I'll say there's a well documented in instances where the man flies the coop and the grass is always greener on the other side.
Yeah, absolutely. There, and I think we were talking that time there, which is when that does happen, you know, you're obviously going to be very upset. You're going to be really broken, all the other bits, etc. There, but keeping the anger.
That's the thing.
And the anger is so corrosive.
It is.
It's sort of like it eats away at you, and you know it's short. This life is, and that point you were making as well about, you know, essentially what other people think.
Yeah.
Well, most people aren't thinking that much about you.
No, they don't. No, they're not. That's the thing.
So
they don't really care.
So they're not thinking that much about, because they're too busy with their own lives.
That's the thing.
They've got everyone's got too much going on in their own lives, other than to pass some sort of quick comment, and then they're moved on.
Yeah, they move on.
And move on there. So really, you know, spending too much time worrying about what people might think about the big decisions you have to make in your life.
Yeah.
Which are, you know, the big decisions about whether or not, you know, who I'm going to marry, when we're going to have children, whatever it might be, basically there, you know, it's too much energy and effort for that. I mean, I said that. I mean, we're all mindful. We all want to appear to be not as good as we can be, but we
more
don't want
important than
we don't want people talking too bad of us and too ill of us. But you know what? You don't know they're talking ill of you.
No.
So what's the point?
No,
there might be a whole heap of people out there now thinking, "What's Lungani and Donald talking about?"
Nobody really cares. I don't think people care.
Yes.
That's the thing. I think people don't really care as much as we think they do.
Yes, I agree with you.
You know what I'm saying? I think even like for those who we have in the public eye, we comment as if we own them.
Yeah. But,
you know
but ask yourself there, how many people, you know, we've all commented on people, we do it all the time there. But you know what most of it is that actually it doesn't really have any meaning. What you get upset with people are people who care for.
That's it.
You know, you're going to get really, really upset about people you love and care for.
That's it.
And the people you don't love and care, then actually, you know, no, you don't wish them any ill will. It's just that they're not a part of your thinking.
Yeah, that's it. And I think, but then I think sometimes, or maybe the way we live kind of gives us a sense of paranoia or something.
Yeah, yes.
You know, it is. It really is. I think sometimes it's like that stems from the fact that either you are thinking more of yourself than you actually are.
Yep. Or you're making yourself quite
Yes.
You think the world is operating around
you
you know, and that's quite narcissistic, that is,
yes.
isn't it? That
yes.
you see the world purely through your own
lens. Yeah.
And the trouble is, we're such a tiny thing.
Yes.
And our world is so tiny that it doesn't, you know, it matters to us and to the people who are part of it, but to the rest, I don't think it does.
I don't think they care that much. Or even if they do, it's usually they are invested in us.
Yes.
And that's usually people either who have a relatively candid relationship with us. Mm-hmm. Those, and I think it's rightly so, because I mean, like you mentioned something earlier that you have a core group of people you will share your.
I don't have many.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Because for me, I don't think besides you. I'll say besides you. You know what I'm saying? And
that's probably why we're on this show. We're doing this show. It's
the
the only way we can talk to anybody.
No, it's true. No, it's true. Because like to your point earlier that we have had more meaningful conversations together in this platform or even in the office is a testament of the fact that sometimes I think the human connection is a fickle one in the sense that you get it where you find it.
Yeah, and there also might be a time period as well.
Yes.
You know, so we've all had this before where you've been maybe in a work situation and you've gone on really, really well with somebody.
Yes.
And then you're no longer in that work situation.
That's it.
And it doesn't feel the same.
It doesn't feel the same.
Yeah. I mean, I worked at my last place. I worked for 18 years, and people ask me now, "Do you, how do you look back on your time there?" And I go, "Don't think about it."
No, but that's it.
I just don't think about it.
Yeah. But that's the thing. But how do you get on, now that it's 18 years later? How do you quantify it to an experience, relative to what you're doing now? Because you're doing something completely different.
Well, I think the way in which I probably see it now is that what I did before, I had to do it so 100%.
Yeah.
That actually the only way I could manage not doing it is not to think about, it's to be 0% with that.
Yeah.
It's to be, that's it, off a cliff edge, finish, gone, basically. And the way in which I also said it to myself was that I wanted to create new chapters in my book of life.
Yeah.
So those chapters had to have clear pages, empty pages. And so I see this chapter now with SACMHA and the work which you and I are doing is a new chapter.
It is a new chapter.
Yeah,
bro.
and it's a chapter which I'm finding very, very interesting. I find it, enthralling to explore some of these areas. These areas around, being male, being black, living here in Britain, and how we manage that, how we have managed that.
Yeah.
And how we manage it, and also live well.
Yeah, and live well.
That's what we all want to live well. Can we do it so we can live well? You said earlier about suffering. No, I want it to be live well.
That's
and
it.
Live well includes having good relations with people. So having good relations with other men, other black men.
Yes.
At whatever level there, where you can be in the company of one another and you enjoy being in the company of one another. You share a joke, you share companionship, you share a sort of something.
Camaraderie.
Yeah, yes, you do. And one of the things I found with it makes me feel like being 15 again.
Yeah,
that's the sort of feeling. That time you see the kids coming out of school and they're 15-year-old lads, all a bit gangly and gawky, etc. But at that point in time, them being together is everything.
It is everything. And this is the thing. It's like I had a lengthy conversation with Shelley in the office. Shelley is there are two. Actually, I'll say I love everyone in the office. Because I will spend time with anyone in that space. But my heart basically, I think Shirley and Corinne, I think their world experience and their worldview I find intriguing. But then everyone else contributes to that. But these two mainly because for me, I don't know what it is about them. As much as we are around the same age group, but I had my youngest auntie, she's passed now. They exude that sense of care and sort of like that ability to see you. You see what I'm saying? That sense of you're being seen. I remember we were talking about we received an email. I thought Tina was the only special one.
You thought you were the only special one.
thought there was the only special one. That when I got an email from Shelley, basically talking about, how are you? And she's aware that, sometimes because we work remotely that we lose touch and we're not in tune. You know what I'm saying? And I thought, I'm thinking I'm the special one until you told me.
But it's a beautiful thing, though, isn't it?
It's a beautiful thing.
And you use the word care.
Yes.
And when people show a care for you, it's a wonderful feeling, and some people have got that ability. And when we say, we have used the phrase "live well." Every time I go to Fade's barbershop, Andrew and Kevin, when I leave, always say, walk well.
Yes.
All the time. They always say that. And walk good. Yeah. And it always stays with me, that is that wherever you go, you're going to have to walk good, you're going to have to walk well, you're going to have to live well. Be the best you can be. Now, you're not always that, but that's an aspiration to be.
No, that's definitely it. So it's like the weird one. Now I'm also working with my niece.
Yes.
Literally when she was born, Jasmine, now I'm working in the same space as her, and working with my brethren David. You know, also is the guy I've known in my life in this part of the world. You see what I'm saying? And I'm finding that very interesting, navigating that, because it's like you cannot dismiss that care that you have always had for each other, you know, like as people. I mean, we are, one of the things that you said, which also resonated with me, in our first meeting in this kind of environment, not at the college, but here, you said, working for a predominantly black community, and you also mentioned an instance when you were at a conference and you were the only person of color. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's a different kind of way of doing work.
Yeah, it is. For me, it is, because it's not something I've been used to. It's a new thing for me, and it's probably psychologically liberating.
That's it.
Because here is a and you know, that antennae of awareness you don't have to have.
Yeah.
What you can just have is actually you're just you're with people, relating to people just on face value.
Yeah.
You know, if we get on, we get on. If we don't get on, we don't get on. But what I haven't got is to second guess in terms of an issue around race.
Yeah.
You know, they might think I'm loud, they might think I'm quiet, they might think I'm supercilious. You can, but it will just be on how I present myself.
That's it.
Then people will make a judgment on me as a person, not on any other sort. I'm sure they might have it as fun about being a man, etc. But on that issue about race and ethnicity, no. And that's really, really good, I think, for me. I find it. I do find it, you know. And maybe at this time in my life as well, it's good to have, because you asked me about the work I did before. I did 40 years of something. Yeah. And I had 40 years of that.
That's it.
And I don't want, you know, I was tired of it.
Yeah. And I think, you know, to your point also is, we are now in a space. I mean, SACMHA has been around for a while.
Yes, absolutely.
And as no matter how you look at it, it's like it's constantly evolving, and the joy of going to that space is just finding out what people are doing and how they are doing it. And then you suddenly realize that you are able to contribute to that in some way or shape or form. It may not be anything official in any way.
Well, it's like last week when we went to one of the barbershops and we were talking with the guy there, and one of the things I know I've got to do this week is to actually go back to SACMHA and just basically ask some people at SACMHA about, you know, where could I get some help? Not help, but maybe, do they know anybody who could help somebody? And
that's it.
And SACMHA gives me that sort of like connections.
That's the thing.
Yeah,
that's the thing. Everyone.
And it's an area of
it's a wealth of knowledge.
Absolutely. And I think we were talking earlier, here is somebody who's come from overseas, they've been here for a while, they're trying to make their way, but they don't know all these other, you know, where do I go to for this sort of and SACMHA's got the potential, not potential, but has got the wherewithal to help people in those situations.
It has the connections. I mean, SACMHA has made enough connections with the university, with the statutory organizations to be able to be of help to people who come there, even if to be signposted to other services.
Yes, absolutely. And it's that signposting bit. That's the word I was probably looking for. And
so I'm aware, you know, like we've been chopping it up. I know this was never really going to be a thing when we missed our guest for today, but for me, I thought, it's like I took one look at you and I was like, I think Donald needs a conversation. No, that was it. That's all I was thinking. I was thinking, I think Donald needs a conversation. I would rather sit down in that room with Don and speak about everything nonsensical But I know he needs a good conversation.
Yeah, and you're probably right there because, you're right. Yeah, and it's been a good conversation.
It's been a good conversation.
And I'm looking forward to our conversation next week with Angela Burrows, who's a psychotherapist, and I've worked with her before and walked with her as well. So really looking forward to just talking with her, shoot the breeze.
Yeah. So for anyone who probably, because sometimes when you invite people to this forum, they think it's going to be bigger than it actually is. It's always just candid conversations with fellow humans on things of interest, and then we learn from each other.
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah.
Well,
thank you again. Thanks a lot, John.
Good. You summed it up well there.
Thanks, bro.
Yes.
Thank you for joining us today. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform and never miss an episode. Until next time, keep those conversations going and the clippers buzzing.